I'm here with Jennifer Samp from the University of Georgia. Thank you for talking with us today, Jen.
My pleasure.
I'd like to start by asking you a little bit about how you got interested in studying interpersonal communication and close relationships.
So when I was an undergraduate, actually, I didn't have a communication major at my institution, but I took some classes in rhetoric, actually, and was much more a rhetorical scholar until I started to get interested in the dynamics of dating. I was dating, but then also understanding human behavior a little bit more. So that influenced my desire to go to graduate school to focus on close personal relationship research at Wisconsin. And I'm still very much interested in studying the processes that dating partners go through as they negotiate commitment and intimacy and how they navigate challenges. I find dating couples particularly interesting because they are not required to be in a relationship through any sort of certificate, and sometimes people stay in dating relationships that aren't particularly functional for them, and other times people get out of relationships that are really good for them. But so understanding that balance between how people want to work to connect with another person in that voluntary environment is very interesting to me.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about some of the interesting findings in the field of communication and the things that you study. What are some of the key findings in the field?
So the dynamics of close relationships are very multifaceted, but there's a very consistent line of significant research on attachment theory, and you know that there are thousands of publications on attachment theory, but it also has major predictive power to understand a variety of relationship dynamics. So the chapter talks about attachment theory as well, but almost every communication behavior in a close relationship can be linked to attachment styles in some sort of way, including the perceptions that we have, expectations of what I want in a relationship partner, but then also how we talk, and particularly when we engage in conflict, my desire, if I'm more secure, I'm going to communicate in a different way than if I'm more fearful that the relationship could end. Also, with regard to attachment theory, it's a pretty neat perspective because that basic argument that you're imprinted at a young age with these expectations is an interesting part of the theory, but more interesting in the work on close relationships is that idea of adult attachment and how we actually take those expectations and bring them to the table, and they inform our relational choices. Also, work on commitment is quite significant within the field of close relationship research. Also very predictive, looking at both the perceptions that we have of our partners and who we are as partners in the relationship, but then also what we say and how we say it in relationships.
Right. So with all of these things like attachment style that are so predictive from an early age, what does that mean for people if they have an insecure attachment style and now they're an adult? Are they doomed forever?
They are not doomed forever. That's a great question. But they're not doomed forever, but those attachment orientations really do influence the type of partners we select for ourselves and the type of relationships we find ourselves in. So, the attachment theory often for undergraduates is very enlightening, and it helps explain a lot of choices that young people make in their relationships. But part of that knowledge, and if you make the decision to actually change that orientation, find yourself in different relationships. You're not doomed at all, but you have to make a conscious effort to make different types of relationship choices.
Okay. So what advice do you have for undergraduate majors in communication in terms of what they can do with their degree or how they can apply what they've learned here?
And how do you tell your parents what your major is, and those questions like that. The communication major is a foot in the door to any variety of careers, so it's not a trade major, obviously, but almost every single job nowadays involves some form of human interaction. Almost every single job. So it is a foot in the door to a variety of different opportunities. I have former students who have gone into public relations. They go to law school, they go to graduate school, of course, but the bulk of them find themselves more in positions where they have to do a lot of writing and they have to do a lot of presentations for their peers, often in large groups.
Right.
So they've been very thankful to have that experience because other majors don't give you as much opportunity to actually think about how we interact with other people and how we may want to change our messages depending on who we're talking to, and any variety of concerns that would influence that, status, you know, authority, power, what have you, small group, intimate group. So that it's a very nice foot in the door for that. So in terms of thinking about how to use the major for one's career, my advice is to start being strategic, you know, in your junior year and thinking about the skills that you really enjoy, the classes that you enjoy, and think about the type of career where you could actually go and apply those skills.
Great. If you'd like to learn more about Jen Samp's research, you can read about her in Chapter 10 of your textbook.